Hi folks, with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the allegations. I'm not actually sure they're even disputed at this point, or the central fact disputed, where Russell Brand has, quite some years ago, as I understand, 15 years ago or something longer, was having intimate relations, or was alleged to have had intimate relations with a girl who was then 16. Now, I don't know whether she was 16 years and 11 months and 29 days old or something, but my understanding is that or at the time, is that there wasn't illegal, so it's simply being looked at as being rather tawdry or untoward in some way. The parents knew about it and they were consenting, and so the girl's parents. I'm not sure there's any illegality, and as far as I can tell, and this is my understanding, is that this is being used somehow as a second tier sort of blunt instrument to try and beat Mr. Brand over the head with. So you may not have proof about these other allegations of wrongdoing, but this fact is, and my understanding at least is, and this is the limits of my understanding, is that Mr. Brand has not disputed it, and it's therefore accepted as being reliable information. But whether that is or isn't the case or not, that's my understanding. But just on the issue of the legality of it. Now, I've seen a number of cases, and they've all got front page news, because this is a prized thing of the political left and get all straight white men, is where there's both age and power imbalance in ideological sort of social power imbalances that the left would see. And given that most of the departments of prosecutions and justice all across the Western world are absolutely shot through with activists now who are less concerned about applying the law equally and more concerned about claiming ideological scalps, then we're seeing more of these cases come into court. And I think I've mentioned that I know some judges and so on, and they in superior courts, and these are the courts that can send you to prison, your criminal trials, and whereas 20 years ago the cases they heard were armed robbery and murder and that sort of stuff. Now the majority of cases they hear are rape cases. Even cases now, I'm waiting for this, cases that can get to court are if a woman says that a man looked up her skirt. If a woman does it, it doesn't matter, but if a man looks up her skirt, that's actually a crime. It's called upskirting. I didn't even know this was a crime. I didn't even know it was a thing. And it's called upskirting. You drag people into court for that. I mean, fuck. That's the ideological extent now of the so-called criminal justice system. Murderers and arsonists, who cares? But look up a woman's skirt, and motherfucker, it's prison for you. So coming now to, we need to understand the ideological sort of trigger-happy sensitivity around all of this gender relations and sexual relations within gender relations, and how it drives people hysterical. The radical feminists are always complaining that not enough men, straight white men really is what they mean, not enough men are going to prison for rape. Now, they've done so much to widen the net to get more men into it, broadening the definition of rape and broadening the definition of what constitutes, legally constitutes consent to sex. And it's insane now. If a woman has two and a half glasses of wine, they can say that extra half glass of wine means that her consent has no legal value, therefore it's rape, and this sort of stuff. So lots and lots of extra additives thrown in, and the radical feminists are still not happy. There's not enough men. There should be 100%. There should be 100% conviction rate, because no woman ever lies, and all men are Nazi fascist rapists. That's the fact, and that's what. So they've got an insanely ideological take on things and the outcomes. So the religious courts in Iran find lesbian women guilty, and the moral police guilty of transgressing the Quran in 100% of cases. 100%. No, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. But 100% of white men being done for rape. That's right. It's only right if the people you don't like. This is the fevered imaginations and fanatical fantasies that are surrounding this. But for mine, it would seem. I don't know. I can't imagine. I'm going back to the time when I was sort of in my 30s. Would I countenance an intimate relationship with someone of 16? I can't imagine it. But anyway, I wasn't a rock star, and I didn't have sort of hot-looking girls throwing themselves at me. But because of a rock star status or something. So I don't know. Maybe the experience changes the situation. But looking at the cases where there's been a girl, like an underage girl, and I think the law varies. I think it's like 16 in some jurisdictions and 17 and even 18 in others for consent. I don't know how many girls at 18 have not engaged in intimate relations. What would you do? Put all of them in prison? I can't imagine that. And in cases where you've got 18-year-old boy and 17-year-old girl, or 17-year-old boy, 16-year-old girl, depending on the jurisdiction, engaging in intimate relations, I don't think you'd find a jury anywhere that would convict the boy. So, and also you've got closeness to the, is the girl 24 hours away from being legally able to consent, and 24 hours previously it's a child, and then, because in the strict technical terms of the language, 24 hours later she's an adult. So I don't know if you could convict someone in those circumstances. I think it'd be difficult. In some jurisdictions there's an age limit. If for example the girl's 15, then she can only the man is there's like if she's 16, the man has got to be 23 or something is the oldest he can be, for example. And this is done again because of feminist agitation for what they see as social power imbalance. But anyway, there have been a few cases in Australia. Now, one case where a 15-year-old girl was having relations with a guy in his mid-20s, and I think he was like a sports teacher or something like that. And so they said, well, he's clearly he's had sexual relations with an underage girl. What a damn fascist Nazi oppressor he is, and they threw him in prison. Now let's get real about the circumstances in this particular one. The girl is like 6 foot tall. She is voluptuous. I mean, she could quite easily pass for being in her 20. Easily pass being a 20. She's a big, athletic, tall, athletic, voluptuous girl, and who's physically at least blossomed well before her time. And women are 30 and still haven't sort of got as voluptuous as her. And she is sending him texts. I want you to fuck me and come over and fuck me, and I want to, I'll tone the language down a bit here. I want to engage in fellatio and so on. So she's aggressively pursuing him for sex. I know you fucked me earlier today, but I need more. I want more of your dick, and these sorts of things are absolutely explicit messages that one is under no illusion of this girl, and she mentions that she's fucked plenty of guys before, but he's the best, and so on. So here's a girl at 15, very physical girl, very very sexually active, and very aggressively pursuing a relationship with him. So they send her to prison purely on the technicality that she's not legally able to consent to the sexual relations. And they also used another one that I think he was a sports teacher, that therefore he had some sort of duty of care. That one I do accept, by the way, the duty of care. I do accept that. But on the other side, I don't. So at the same time, the same people, the feminists, who say, well, this girl should be allowed to vote. This girl should be allowed to engage in puberty transition. She should be allowed to access graphic gay, lesbian, pornographic material. She should be able to engage in lesbian relationships if she wants to, because that the power is supposed to be equal. She should be able to do all that. But as soon as a heterosexual man comes along, criminality, and I don't accept that. I think that's ridiculous. That if this girl is viewed as being unable to consent to intimate relations with a man, or in this case, a man over the age of 18, then how can she be supposedly consent to all those other things, and that she's allowed to look at graphic gay lesbian porn and her parents aren't allowed to know because she has the right to consent and it's her decision, not anyone, and so on. But as soon as it comes to an intimate heterosexual relationship, bingo, she's not allowed to do it. I mean, that is bullshit in my view. Now, if you saw this girl, there's no way you'd say, oh, she's 15. You got to be kidding. I mean, she's got to be like 20 years old minimum. That's what a big girl she was. Now, there's some people we know who had they're both quite tall people. They're both sort of. I mean, he's got to be 6'4" and she's got to be 5'11" or something, the mother. And they've got a daughter who's got to, again, about 6 foot, very athletic girl. And I was quite stunned when I first saw her, that she was, I think, 16 or 17. But she's 16. And I thought, wow, I mean, there's no way she could be 16. And she's wearing like a really sexy outfit and that sort of stuff. And it was like, I mean, it's a hot summer's day. We were over there. Anyway, not long afterwards, she ended up, it was sort of something of a scandal, I guess, a family level scandal, that she was having a relationship with a much older man. He was in his late 20s, apparently. And the parents were complaining about, oh, it was terrible, it was awful, oh, my poor little baby. I thought, you've got to be kidding, your poor little baby. And she had that real slut look on her face. And I can't imagine the parents didn't notice that. But and the way she looked at me was, she gave me this look as if, I can handle guys your age. And this was some years ago. I can handle guys. I can handle any man. I'm there, I can handle this, and just the look, that confidence, the brassiness, and I thought, that's going to get you into trouble, but didn't say anything. That's not my. So this scandal came out later on, and the parents were going on like it was a real shock, and we didn't see this coming. Oh, it's terrible, our little innocent baby. And I listened politely. I thought, she's just nothing fucking innocent about her, Jesus. So now, as it turns out, that same girl, I was out with my wife one night. We were going to a restaurant, and we were walking past this nightclub, and there was this girl, about the 6 foot tall, heels, and she had this micro spray on, micro midi skirt on, and she's a hot looking girl, and so I thought, I've seen her somewhere. Where do I know her from? She's fully made up, and lipstick and the whole 9 yards. So, hold on a minute, that's the daughter of these people, the one who, and there she is at the nightclub. And she talk about sexuality on steroids, and she looked and projected powerful sexuality, and she's like 16 or 17. I mean, how did she do that? I had nothing, not even approaching that level of confidence when I was 16. Nothing even remotely like it. But there you were. So looking at some of these, and some others that I won't go into to make the video too long. But this idea of consent and how it's given, or what constitutes consent, it's been so politicized by radical ideological activists that I don't think it reflects any sort of reality. Do I personally think it's inappropriate for someone in their 30s to be getting intimate with a 16? Well, I do. But if the 30-year-old is rather sort of childish in a lot of ways, if the 16-year-old is unusually advanced to her years, well practiced sexually, then maybe they're not really in terms of actual sophistication, maybe not that far apart in reality. And so, is it still, should it be illegal or inappropriate? I notice here in some states in Australia now it's legal for gay lesbian sex at 16, but it's illegal if it's heterosexual sex at 16, and that to me is astonishing. I mean, why is it? And the argument again comes back to, well, if it's two gay people or two lesbians, then they have equal social power. Well, no, it's not. What if the lesbian's 50 years old and the it's a 16-year-old girl or something? Maybe isn't that a power imbalance? I mean, so there's again a whole lot of ideology going around about this, and I think that blurs the reality, and maybe it has to be looked at on a case-by-case basis. But this idea of strictly saying it's rape or this or that or something untoward, then I don't agree. There's another case, a guy I knew. He was a music teacher. He had his own music college sort of thing, and it was a small time, and I think he taught a number of musical instruments like guitar and piano and that sort of stuff. But he was a real mummy's boy, and he was quite childlike, and his mother had been strict, if not brutal, with him, and so he had this sort of simpering sort of manner about him, and no real spirit, and so he most of his students were younger people, between the ages of sort of 10 and 17, I suppose, would be the main range. He did okay, actually. He had quite a few students. And he was quite a whiz on musical theory. I remember that he could transpose, different musical keys and chords and notes. He could transpose all that in his head. I mean, he was like, I don't know, the sort of people he could just do it on the fly. You imagine people like Mozart or something could do that, but he. Anyway, he could do that, but so he's got this 16-year-old, 15 or 16-year-old student, and she's again one of these, I would suggest incredibly devious girls, manipulative and that sort of thing. But because she's the younger one, he's the older one, and he's the teacher, it's presumed legally he has the power and she has none, which is not true. Not in this case, I would suggest. Knowing him as I did, given what a sort of little child really he was, like the mummy's boy thing, I think a confident enough girl could easily run rings around him. And so anyway, they begin to have some sort of a relationship, an intimate relationship, and then I think her parents find out, and then it all goes to shit. But he ended up going to prison too, because the presumption was, well, she couldn't give consent. You were the teacher, therefore the duty of care, which again I do agree with. I mean, I think he was dumb and you were the one that led her astray. You evil, twisted genius, poor little girl, the little girl being led astray by evil straight white man. And I don't think it was anything like that at all. But the presumption, the imposition of ideology onto that situation meant that he went to prison for that. And I can't think of a legal verdict that would have been less fair. Was he stupid or ill-advised, or should he have? No, you're a student, nothing to talk about. But because he was such a mummy's boy, he didn't have much success in dating older women, and so this was under the circumstance maybe the best he could get, and so I was rather sympathetic to him. Was he stupid and dumb? Sure. Was he an illegal sort of exploiter and of young innocent women? No, not at all. So these are the things that other things and the other dimensions that are certainly worth considering in this topic. But given that the both these guys were done as much as in duty of care, then that I do accept. But I don't accept the duty of care thing as a prison, is something that in isolation should result in prison. You've been tasked us today at your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.